Of the I Love CVille show. Like the show, share the show, retweet the show. We are not live on I Love CVille Facebook. We are live on Twitter. We are live on my personal Facebook page, J-Dubs. Personal Facebook's about 7,000 followers. We are not live on LinkedIn.
It's going live.
Okay. Have you confirmed YouTube?
No.
I can confirm YouTube here. I'm opening it up.
It says it's on.
Fantastic. We are live on YouTube, guys. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search the I Love CVille network and subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. Very good place to watch the show is on YouTube. It's a video platform, and it's most consistent with its streaming and its buffering, YouTube. There's also a chat box on YouTube where you could share your thoughts on that platform. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notifications button so you get notified when we go live. Lewis Mountain neighborhood may be breathing a sigh of relief. Yesterday we interviewed Jerry Cox, who lives in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, and we were talking about the 6 luxury brownstone project that Evergreen was bringing to market. Ladies and gentlemen, during yesterday's interview with Jerry Cox talking Lewis Mountain and Evergreen, the banner promoting the 6 luxury brownstones was removed from 303 Alderman Road, one of the most famous, some people would call it infamous, houses in the city of Charlottesville. Does that mean that Evergreen is done with its brownstone project? We will talk about that today on the I Love CVille show. This is content that most certainly, when it penetrates the legacy media cycle, the old media companies watch our program on the regular. And when we talk about it today, this will turn into content for their news cycles. Giddy up and get ready. Like the show, share the show. We're going to talk, what was the topic? I thought yours was fascinating, the idea. Diversity of viewpoints versus diversity of demographics, Judah?
Yeah, I believe that's what the Board of Visitors is pushing for at UVA, with the idea that since obviously DEI is almost a dirty word with the current administration, and I think that kind of aligns with probably what how the Board of Visitors feel. They would rather have diversity of viewpoints in terms of people being able to talk and share their thoughts and have have back and forths without being vilified for a particular viewpoint, as opposed to diversity of diversity.
All right, we'll talk about that today on the I Love CVille show. I'm looking forward to that conversation, viewers and listeners. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. Let's rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Welcome to the I Love CVille show, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Good Friday afternoon to you. Thank you kindly for joining us on our flagship show, the I Love CVille show, where we take topics, whether national, local, regional, statewide, and we try to tie them to Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia. And I think we've done that again today. The brownstone project in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, 303 Alderman Road, a big turn of events with this project over the last 24 hours. The signage outside 303 Alderman Road highlighting and promoting what the project was going to materialize into has now been removed. Evergreen, over a year ago, spent well over $800,000 on a brick rancher in need of tremendous remodeling and TLC. And they almost immediately hung a banner, signage, on the front of the brick rancher touting 6 luxury brownstones in its place. That signage yesterday at the end of the I Love CVille show when the I Love CVille show was talking with Jerry Cox, a neighbor, an owner of a house in Lewis Mountain. He lives in Lewis Mountain. He's a neighbor of this brownstone project. The signage is removed right at the end of the I Love CVille show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about that today. Does that mean Evergreen has thrown in the towel on this project? And folks, what does that do for housing activists and new zoning ordinance activists when they see a project that was, in a lot of ways, their flagship project for this new zoning, now potentially going in the dumpster? We'll talk about that today. And speaking of the new zoning ordinance, Richard Price and Roger Voisinay will join us on the program next week to talk what now could be the first to market project under the NZO in Woollen Mills Court. You have photos of that you can show on screen, Rogers?
In just a second, I will.
If you don't have it, that's okay. It's okay as well. I know I'm kind of springing that on you. I definitely want to show the pics, J-Dubs, of the luxury brownstone signage that's gone. Is that ready to go? I'll cue that up for you here in a matter of moments. I want to talk Albemarle County's school board voting itself a 60% raise. Are you kidding me? The school board, in a 5-1 vote, said we want more taxpayer dollars, and we're going to give ourselves a 60% raise. Ladies and gentlemen, flabbergasted does not describe what I'm feeling right now. And speaking of Albemarle County, their services are offline after a cybersecurity incident. I could not even get on the GIS yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. That's how significant the cybersecurity incident was with Albemarle County, the 6th largest county in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We'll talk on the program diversity of viewpoints versus diversity of demographics, as the University of Virginia may be doing a do-si-do, a three-card Monty with diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is called branding or rebranding. We'll remind you of the interviews we have scheduled for next week. The team behind CVille Smash, the new indoor pickleball facility, is going to join us in studio on Thursday. We're going to talk about their project in the old Marshall's location. It's coming to market soon, and they are making some significant progress with CVille Smash. On Wednesday of next week, are we frozen over there? You sure? You're not doing stuff with the photos to freeze the frame?
I'm not doing anything.
Okay, I'm getting notified that we're frozen. On Wednesday, Roger Voisinay and Richard Price in studio to talk about their development project, guys, in Woollen Mills. A lot we're going to cover on the show. Judah Wickhauer, two-shot, studio camera and two-shot. The headline that most intrigues you, Judah Wickhauer, and why?
I mean, I'm amazed that Evergreen took down the signage so quickly after we had Jerry Cox on the show. That's pretty fascinating.
Does that mean the project is no more? We're going to start with that headline here in a matter of moments. Martha Freeman, hello. Barbara Becker-Tilley, hello. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, 61 years in business, Judah. Support the businesses that you want to see make it another 61 years. I know the Vermillion men, the gentleman behind Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, very well. John Vermillion, Andrew Vermillion, at least 4 generations in Albemarle County. And their business is located on East High Street. It's online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. And this is the business you want to drive to, walk in their doors, and talk to John and Andrew and ask them about what they're doing and how they can help you with your home or your business, with your swimming pool, and keeping the water crystal clear and healthy. There are few better people in Albemarle County and in Central Virginia than John and Andrew Vermillion. Honest, communicative, knowledgeable, customer service oriented, Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. And I want to highlight what we're doing here at Charlottesville Business Brokers. In the last 24 months, more than $4 million in business sales, transactions from business brokerage. We're working on one right now that's a sizable one. If you're looking to buy or sell a business in Charlottesville and Albemarle County in Central Virginia. Charlottesville Business Brokers is the firm you call. We just did Great Harvest Bread Company, Moe's Barbecue, Croby's, Tangerine Kitchen, Package Depot. We've sold digital assets. We've sold biotechnology equipment, intellectual property. You name it, we have buyers and sellers for it. Judah Wickhauer, the lead of the show, my friend, as you put us on a two-shot and start rotating those first two lower thirds on screen, how about we show the before on screen for 303 Alderman Road, my friend? Let us know when the before signage is up. Look at the screen, ladies and gentlemen. 303 Alderman Road, does the signage touting the 6 luxury brownstones, is that on there?
Yep.
Now, Judah Wickhauer, show them the after. What is missing, my friend, from 303 Alderman Road, a home purchased on the 17th of June of last year for $835,000?
They seem to be missing a coming soon sign.
I drove by there this morning, wanted to see it with my own 2 eyes. I will show you my camera roll. Am I on screen right here on a 2-shot?
Just a second.
I drove by there this morning and took the picture as well. This coincides the removal of that signage with an interview we did yesterday with Jerry Cox, who lives in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood, a homeowner who is the managing director of the Forerunner Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, I know nothing besides the fact that the signage was taken off the building after being on that house for nearly a year. And now I'm asking the question, television, radio, and print, you're watching the show right now. We should ask the question, are the plans for Evergreen's 6 luxury brownstones, each brownstone with an asking price over $1 million, are they now scrapped? I learned a number of things from Jerry Cox in yesterday's interview. One of the things that really startled me and surprised me was Arlington. In Arlington, Virginia, Arlington County, there is a home that is currently listed, a duplex, for $1.8 million. Mm-hmm. That's the number he said. And in the language of the listing agreement, it says whoever buys this house in Arlington, mm-hmm, if the zoning doesn't go in a certain direction, you may have to tear this house down. It says that in the listing if you want to buy this. A developer built this particular housing stock under the impression that Arlington's radical zoning code would be upheld by a court. The court said, no, we're not going to uphold this zoning. Homeowners in Arlington County sued the county. They won. And the home built when the radical zoning was in play is now in a crossfire of significant proportions. Arlington, the jurisdiction, is appealing the ruling. And right now it's an appeal. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, $1.8 million structure, how the hell do you finance a deal like that? How do you do title for a deal like that? How do you appraise a deal like that? And what realtor would want to list a home that may get torn down if an appeal process doesn't go the right way? That's called legal exposure of significant proportions. And ladies and gentlemen, if the Arlington turn of events is a comp for what could happen in Charlottesville, goodness gracious, great balls of fire, why would you do development in the city of Charlottesville? We'll have that very question asked to Roger Voisinay, friend of the program, Richard Price, friend of the program, Richard, a tremendous squash player, the developers, the architects, the builders behind Woolen Mills Court on Wednesday. If you're just tuning into the program, here's the before and after of 303 Alderman Road. Photos on screen, before and after. The signage touting the 6 luxury brownstones in the Tony, prestigious, and prominent Lewis Mountain neighborhood has now been removed by Evergreen Home Builders. They purchased this brick rancher for $835,000 on the 17th of June. Goodness gracious. This is significant if they've decided to scrap this project.
No
Remember, this doesn't go to court. This does not go to court until June of next year.
Over a year from now.
Over a year from now. Georgia Gilmer watching the program. Jerry, that brownstone sign was definitely up on Tuesday, and yes, it was removed right after your show yesterday on Wednesday with Jerry Cox.
The writing's on the wall.
That's all we know. We don't want to speculate any more than that. But radio, television, and print that's watching the program, you should follow up. And is Lewis Mountain, the neighborhood, breathing a sigh of relief right now? And if you're Evergreen, goodness gracious, do you just cut bait and say, let's just build a luxury single-family detached home and get the hell out of this neighborhood and this project?
Right.
Look, I empathize and I feel bad for the position that Evergreen's been put in here. Evergreen went first to market under the new zoning ordinance. And they say first to market gets slaughtered. And that's what's happened here. They went first to market trying to be opportunistic and capitalize on a new zoning ordinance. And they did it in splashy fashion. The Lewis Mountain neighborhood, wealthy, rich, prestigious, and prominent. They buy an $835,000 brick rancher that's probably a teardown. That ain't cheap. And they do it in a neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen, where their neighbors have power and prominence. And they broke into the neighborhood like a bull in a china shop. And perhaps the due diligence wasn't done with covenants and restrictions. And perhaps the temperature was not properly read with the neighborhood and what they wanted. And perhaps the anticipation with the new zoning ordinance wasn't properly gauged. Despite the fact that everything that was happening in Arlington County was happening before it was happening in Charlottesville. So you had a comp there to assess the potential damage.
Yeah.
Okay? From my standpoint, and I'm told Evergreen watches and listens to what we talk about on the show. From my standpoint, the proprietors, the principals of Evergreen, the shot callers, the head honchos of Evergreen, my advice to you, scrap the brownstone plans, build a single-family detached house. You're one of the best builders out there. Sell the single-family detached house for $2.4, $2.5, $2.6 million. Make some money and get out of this boondoggle. For the Evergreen owners, listen to what I'm saying. 2526 single-family detached home. Make money. Get yourself out of this debt service and this nightmare, this quicksand of legal fees, and go on to the next project. Because the opportunity cost right now of what you're going through is significant. Yeah. And the neighborhood, this is their Normandy Beach. This is Lewis Mountain's Normandy Beach, folks. They're not going to stop.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'd be hard-pressed to suggest actually starting the construction of the project, and in the meantime, they're just throwing money away.
If they did something that was 2.5, 2.6 million, somewhere between 2.4, the comparables suggest that they could do new construction in the range of 2.4 million, flirting all the way with 3 million. I know the comps well. I'm on the MLS. I'm on Paragon 3 to 4 times a day easily, the back end of the MLS. 2.4 to 3 million easy, the comps suggest you can do there. If Lewis Mountain were to do, if Evergreen were to do something like that in Lewis Mountain, the neighborhood would be well received. Because that's only going to drive significant value for all the other homeowners. The beef they had was the 6 units on what was otherwise an R1 single-family detached home. John Blair, his comment, photo on screen. Very curious to hear what Deep Throat has to say about this. He's in his sprawling ranch in Montana as we speak, after some fantastic time in Paris. John Blair says, Jerry, like you, I don't want to truly say this project is over until Evergreen confirms the project is scrapped. But if it is, I think we will need to hear from Roger about the status of his project. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that two major projects in the city, on Ivy and over at JPA and Stadium, were not subject to the NZO requirements. So you have to ask, how many actual units have been constructed in the city of Charlottesville since the adoption of the NZO that was subject to the NZO requirements? There's a serious public policy question about the NZO. See, John Blair's a really smart man. John Blair's asking a question that he already knows the answer to because he's way smarter than I am. He knows that the Verve project on Stadium, that's the Verve, right? And then the project next to Moe's Barbecue, that both those were approved prior to the new zoning ordinance. He knows that. We know that. The Moe's Barbecue project that is literally right next to Moe's Barbecue, and then the 13
building.
Yeah, the old Truist building, exactly right, Judah. And then the 1,300 units, 1,300 beds next to Scott Stadium were under the old zoning code. If Evergreen does scrap this project, then all we know, I'm reiterating this again, all we know is that the signage has been taken down. And it coincided with the fact that the attorney leading the charge for Lewis Mountain, Jerry Cox, was on the program yesterday, highlighting what their strategy is to go toe-to-toe with the developer, highlighting the Arlington news and highlighting the plaintiffs and what they're doing in the city of Charlottesville, and highlighting the fact that the junior varsity move from the Gentry Locke law firm with missing a filing deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, egg on your face for Gentry Locke, egg on your face for City Hall there.
Egg on our face because we're paying for it.
Touche, Judah. Egg on our face. Most egg is on the face of Judah and I, and you, viewer and listener, the taxpayer. Egg on our face. Okay? So maybe they just say, goodness gracious, this is too many independent variables here that are potentially disastrous. Someone should ask them. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Bobby Shada, welcome to the program, the vice mayor of Vivace and the mayor of Birdwood Golf Club, watching the show right now. Love when you watch the show, Bobby Shada. You're a good man right over there. Paul Johnson, welcome to the program. Thank you kindly for joining us. Got a newspaper, radio, and television watching us on the I Love CVille show, literally as we speak. Judah Wickower, I will follow that closely. Viewer and listener, you should watch the interview that we did yesterday with Jerry Cox if you're interested in real estate or zoning, because I found it absolutely fascinating. It was nuanced, and it was certainly upper level, but it was absolutely fascinating. Next headline, Judah Wickower, what do you got?
Alpco, the school board has voted itself a 60% raise.
You know, the world we live in, Judah, the world we live in, this world of social media and this world of iPhones and smartphones, this world of digital media, this world of news traveling really fast, one of the things I've realized that is more important than ever is perception, the value of brand and image and perception. Brand, image, perception, they are reality. And here we have a school board, a board dominated by one-party Democrats, a board dominated by one ideology, progressive. In a 5-to-1 vote, 6 board members, 5 voted yes, that the school board deserves a 60% raise. You're going to set the table in the who, what, when, where, why of this story. But explain to me, ladies and gentlemen, when you get 60% raises professionally, if your name is not Craig Kent, the embattled former chief executive of UVA Health, who got a $500,000 raise despite leading an alleged white-collar racketeering strategy to maximize profits at the expense of vulnerable patients. Here the school board is saying, we want 60% more money. And 5 of them voted yes. Judah Wickower, who, what, when, where, why?
This is a 60% raise on the board member salaries, the first raise for the board since 2022. As you mentioned, it was a 5-1 vote, upping the salary per member from $7,915 to $16,249, effective January 1st. I can kind of understand their compensation is behind other areas' compensations, and they wanted to bring them more in line with what they feel they should be.
There's got to be a but coming here.
But why not do this over the course of a few years, considering the fact that they just raised taxes? And they mentioned the fact that they want every member of the community, regardless of income or background, to be able to serve on the school board. But do they have a seat opening up? Is the 60% raise something that was necessary right now? Or could they have, like I said, could they have done this over the course of a few years, raised it 10% a year for the next 6 years?
Sensibility from Judah Wickower. Sensible approach. I'm going to ask some questions. This is a school board that doesn't understand that perception is reality, okay? Here are the questions that I'm going to ask, knowing perception is reality. Question number 1. Well, the school board was fighting for much more money for the public school system, asking Albemarle County's Board of Supervisors to raise taxes, which it did on the real estate tax rate, 4 cents. Because a portion of that incremental proceeds, of those incremental proceeds, were going to be allocated to public schools. Did the school board do this with the ulterior motive that they were going to give themselves a 60% raise? Here's another question I'm going to ask. Why give yourself a 60% raise and vote on it and apply it immediately to the people on the dais? If you're going to give yourself a 60%, if you're going to give the school board a 60% raise, maybe say that raise goes in effect 24 months from now, 36 months from now, so it doesn't look like you're just padding your own pockets. Mm-hmm. Another thing I wonder, if you're going to give yourself a raise of 60%, why not say we're going to offer a raise of 6% a year for the next 10 years? Mm-hmm. Heck, it wouldn't even be 10 years because that's compound raises. 6% a year for the next 7 years would probably do it. Why not do that, ladies and gentlemen? To do it one blanket 60% raise is a terrible look, and frankly, it's insulting to hardworking Albemarle Countyans who generally, on a year-over-year, get a 3 to 5% raise. The University of Virginia, ladies and gentlemen, with its employees, has frozen the 3% cost of living raise it offers its employees. UVA's frozen the minuscule 3% cost of living raise that doesn't even keep up with inflation that it offers its employees. And here the Albemarle County School Board is offering itself, voting for itself to get a 60% raise. This smells fishy.
Mary McIntyre, the Albemarle Education Association president, had similar questions about why the raise was done all at the same time.
Well done, Mary McIntyre.
And she had something interesting to say. In the recent past, when ACPS has determined that certain positions need to be adjusted to be closer to market rates and the budget is tight, they've told employees it needed to be done in phases over multiple years. The budget for next year is more than tight. Over 40 full-time positions were cut, and entire programs were shut down. This decision was made with no explanation about where this money would come from, and it was not included in the budget approved by the board in May. The union is not against anyone being paid fairly for their work, but being fiscally responsible shouldn't only matter when it is rank and file employees who are needing a raise.
Well done, Mary McIntyre. We don't always see eye to eye on things, Mary McIntyre, but I respect your commitment to Albemarle County. She just got a grant as well that allows her to serve as a union, a teacher union evangelist. Get out of the classroom where she's a specialist and now is a fully committed evangelist for the union professionally. So Mary McIntyre, you're smart to ask those questions. I hope you hear what I just said.
No doubt.
Georgia Gilmer asked this question. Did the teachers of Albemarle County get a raise? Did the teachers of Albemarle County get a raise of this magnitude? Do you see why school board members this smells fishy? UVA's frozen the 3% cost of living raise for its employees. No one out there gets raises that are of this magnitude, except Craig Kent. And you are voting in 5-1 fashion to give yourself 60% more compensation on the 1st of January. And these are the folks entrusted with managing a public school budget that is 60% of the overall Albemarle County yearly budget. Chad Wood watching the program. I can't even get the kids to school. A raise sounds about right. Chad Wood says, they can't even get the kids to school on time with the buses. Yeah, a raise sounds about right. And he does the face smack emoji. This is what you get when you have cronyism. This is what you get when you have backroom dealing. Janice Boyce Trevelyan says, Judah, vote yourself a raise.
Oh, that would be nice.
Judah gets a raise every single year and has gotten a significant raise every single year for the 15 years he's worked here. Every single year. Unlike UVA, over that 15-year period of time that has multiple times frozen the cost of living raise. And I'll leave it at that. Janice Boyce Trevelyan says, oh, are they offering the teachers the same level raise as well? If I was the teachers of Albemarle County, right, and here's you want to hear the most interesting thing about this for the Albemarle County School Board, Judah? Mm-hmm. It's no coincidence that the Albemarle County School Board did this during the summertime when school is not in session, while the teachers cannot galvanize in the hallways and organize and strategize and raise holy hell. They did this in the off period where parent engagement, where public comment is at a low because school is out of session, and while the teachers are not in the hallways teaching their kids. It was strategic to do it this way. Do you see that, right?
Yeah.
Juan Sarmiento watching the program. He works for the city of Charlottesville in transportation. I was getting only 3% every year, and I work way harder than those school board members. Then he says, I'm getting a 12% raise this year thanks to the union, though. But hear that, Judah? City employees prior to the union getting only 3% a year in raise. Mm-hmm. Margie King Collins. Make sure you're getting these photos on screen. Juan Sarmiento, fantastic musician. His photo should have been on screen right there. Chad Wood's photo should have been on screen as well.
This was.
Okay. Here's Margie King Collins. Do we have a photo for MKC?
No.
Teachers, give them the raises they deserve. Albemarle County needs a new high school. Schools need repairs. I could go on and on and on. And why are they voting to give themselves a raise? Shouldn't that be approved by a county executive or some other party? Jason Noble watching the show. Jason Noble has this comment. They were under budget. Of course they gave themselves a raise. They had all that sweet, sweet property tax money. I want to highlight this again. We live in a county of Albemarle where the school board gives themselves a 60% raise. And we live in the county of Albemarle where there's a candidate in Sally Duncan who is openly with her campaign materials saying, I'm going to raise taxes on you people. She is straight up saying, we still have that Sally Duncan commercial?
Yeah, I think so.
If you find it, I want to play it again. She's openly saying in the Jack Jewett district that I'm going to raise taxes on you, and people are still going to vote for her. This is bizarro world.
I've got it here.
You got the sound from the Duncan commercial? Tell me this isn't Duncan talking, I'm going to tax all you guys more if you elect it. Play it in 3, 2, 1.
Children.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
That's not the right one. Hold on. Let me, I'm pretty sure I've still got it. Let me find it real quick.
Oh, okay. Was this going to impact the Judah raise over here? I'm just kidding. You do a great job.
Here we go.
You have it?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1.
While the White House keeps cutting and defunding programs, here in Albemarle County, we're investing. We're investing in housing. We're investing in our kids. We're investing in each other.
Hi, I'm Sally Duncan, and I'm running for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors because I want to continue investing in our community. Vote for me to be your Jack Jewett Supervisor by June 17th.
I'm Sally Duncan, and I approve this message.
Judah, is that not Duncan saying she's going to raise taxes on everybody?
Investing, investing, investing. How do you invest? You need money.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's straight up saying I'm going to raise taxes on you guys. And she's straight up saying we're going to pack as many houses in to Albemarle County as possible. Katie Pearl has a very good question. KTP's photo on screen. Chad Wood has the same question. Do we know the one vote against it? I'll tell you I don't know, okay? I don't know who the one vote against it is. Okay?
Right.
I'll tell you who I'm confident it is not. I'm confident it is not old Judy Lee in the Rivanna district. I think Judy Lee voted 100% in favor of the 60% race. Okay? I would bet, I have no idea who voted against it. Do we know who voted against it?
I'm not seeing it anywhere.
Any viewer and listener, who voted against that? Georgia Gilmer says it was Leslie Pryor who voted against it. Good job, Leslie Pryor in the Rio district. Leslie Pryor voted against the race. Allison Spillman, old Allison Spillman, beat Meg Bryce in the general election, in the at-large race. Allison Spillman's like, give me more money. Give me my money, Allison Spillman says. Graham Page says, give me my money from the Samuel Miller district. Ellen Osborne says, give me my money. Old Ellen from the Scottsville district. Judy Lee in the Rivanna, give me more money. Rebecca Berlin in the Whitehall district, give me more money. Kata Cuff in the Jack Jewett district, give me more money. 60%. That's insulting.
Especially on top of the recent
That is insulting.
tax rate raise.
Raised the real estate tax rate 4 cents at the last Albemarle County Board of Supervisors meeting. And the next school board meeting, vote 5-1, give a 60% raise. Carol Thorpe watching the program and the Jack Jewett district, investing runaway spending, Jerry. I'm throwing the poo-poo flag in the air right now. 60% raise. Same time the Albemarle County digital infrastructure was compromised. Next headline on screen. Oh, you got something?
One last point Mary McIntyre makes, which I believe is worth repeating.
Keep fighting the fight, Mary McIntyre.
She pointed out that teachers are asked to justify their requests for pay raises, and suggested the board accept a smaller raise this year.
If teachers have to justify why they deserve a raise, do school board members have to justify why they get a raise? And are Albemarle County Public Schools performing at a clip where they were 60% better now than they were over the last few years? Last I heard, Albemarle County Public Schools are struggling. We have third graders struggling to pass basic SOLs. Overpopulation, overcrowded, in need of repair, in need of new schools, get the kids out of the trailers, brawls and brouhahas, front office fighting, the story in the newspaper from a couple of weeks ago with its gifted program, the head of the gifted program, friend of the show, Jeff Prilliman, out. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Next headline, Judah Whitcare, what do you got?
Albco services offline from a cybersecurity incident.
It's been a really tough 48 hours for Albemarle County.
I don't really hold this so much against them. This is, I think, something that's going to be happening.
You don't hold taxpayer and resident security and safety against Albemarle County?
Not as much as I do some of the other things that have happened recently. This is something that could literally happen to anyone, and is happening and will happen, I believe, more and more frequently.
I agree with that.
It's just the landscape we live in now, where there are vulnerabilities to being connected to the internet.
I couldn't get on the
24/7.
GIS yesterday. You got the who, what, when, where, why on this story for us?
Yep. Let's see. Albemarle County offices, public safety services. The public safety services are offline, but the Albemarle County offices have been taken offline. Some services interrupted. 911, thankfully, is still in operation. But other county departments are going to be offline for an indeterminate amount of time.
Thankfully, 911 is still in operation. I couldn't get on the GIS yesterday. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question. I got a sincere question. No access to the GIS. How does that impact real estate closings? How does not having access to the GIS impact attorneys and the real estate supply chain getting parcel numbers for transactions? How does it impact all the permitting that's on the back end? I'm just curious question. Real estate professional, help me out on that one.
There's no internet access at any of the county buildings.
Let me see if I can get on the Albemarle GIS right now. I'm going to Albemarle. I click the GIS. It's loading. The hourglass is spinning. The tab is spinning on my browser, Judah. Albemarle GIS. Why won't you load? Albemarle GIS. Why won't you load? How does not having title information, tax maps, parcel numbers, permitting details, all this important metadata, how does that impact real estate?
Yeah.
Just got a question for you. What exactly is down? Thank God 911 is not down.
Looks like internet access is down in all of the county buildings, and they don't have an exhaustive list of what exactly is not working. Just that the public safety services, including 911 emergency, and other critical services are still in operation. It sounds as though the IT team identified something going on and contained at least some of it, which is probably why some of the more integral public safety services didn't get taken out.
Let me ask you a sincere question, viewers and listeners. Sincere question. You ready for this? Albemarle County personal property taxes and real estate taxes are due on the 25th of June. You're telling me there's no internet at the Albemarle County office building?
Interesting.
Is Albemarle County going to be able to process real estate taxes and personal property taxes that are due on the 25th of June?
Good question.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
I asked the questions about the GIS, right? And it is completely down. You can't get on the GIS. I asked the questions about tax maps, parcel numbers, title, permitting, the details needed for closing, all that metadata that's on the GIS. I asked that question and how it's going to impact real estate in Albemarle County. I'm going to ask the question on the 25th of June, we have to pay our taxes on our house. If they're not paid by your mortgage company, you pay them in person on your vehicles, your cars, and your personal property. Are we going to be able to do that?
Yeah, good question.
This happened to the Daily Progress, and still the Daily Progress has not recovered. The Daily Progress for months was unable to have a paywall or print its newspaper. And the cyber attack on the Daily Progress with Lee Enterprises, the parent company that also owns the Roanoke Times, also owns the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and a boatload of other newspapers in the Commonwealth, the cyber attack was so significant on Lee Enterprises that it was unable to do 2 debt service payments to Warren Buffett's company. Lee Enterprises bought its brands, its periodicals from Buffett Media. For 2 months, it couldn't do the debt service payment, and Warren Buffett had to say, all right, I'll give you some reprieve and some grace. These 2 months, we'll tack it on the back end to help you with your liquidity issues. Is Albemarle County going to go to us, the taxpayer, with similar liquidity issues tied to a cyber attack? Why haven't we heard anything about this yet of value and significance? Do we have a statement from the county executive?
Let's see. The complete county statement is Albemarle County experienced a cyber incident earlier this week. While the response is ongoing and active, I would like to share with you an update. Albemarle County is actively responding to a cybersecurity incident that has impacted certain systems within our network. As soon as our internal IT team identified the issue, we took immediate steps to contain it and minimize any disruption. We have engaged outside cybersecurity experts to guide our response and remediation efforts, and we have alerted state and federal law enforcement, as is our policy. Blah, 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 go on, and it ends with, at this time, there are no further details to provide, but we remain committed to transparency as we learn more. And it's mostly just talking about how disruptive it is, and their goal is to keep trust in Albemarle County and sharing information as soon as they know.
Lonnie Murray says, oh, is that why that was down? I was trying to access it that last night. I'm wondering why it was down. Yep, good old cyber attack. There's some 14-year-old in Singapore that's laughing over his keyboard as the Board of Supervisors is scrambling and as the school board is giving itself 60% raises. This is ridiculous. You can't make this up. This is a comedy of errors. This is a content creator's dream. Georgia Gilmer also wondering about personal property and real estate payments, tax payments, because she pays in person. She goes, now I guess I'll mail mine to their processing center in Merrifield. I'm going to still try to pay in person. I got a condo in Albemarle County at the Villas at Southern Ridge that's paid off. So I pay those personal property, I pay those real estate taxes in person. I walk in there. I'm still going to do that. I'm still going to do that. Jason Noble says 60% raises. I'm running for school board. Oh my God. All right. Diversity, last headline, what do you got, Judah Wickhauer?
Yeah, diversity of viewpoints versus diversity of demographics.
You're doing a good job today, Judah. Put the who, what, when, where, why into perspective.
Let's see. So, with the recent, I don't know, what do you want? Do you want to call it assault on UVA by the administration?
Which administration?
The
Trump's administration?
Trump's administration.
Youngkin's administration? The Jefferson Council's administration?
Both, all.
The parents of the fallen football players? The anonymous 128 doctors? The pepper sprayed protesting pro-Palestine pupils? Which assault are we talking about here? Okay, I guess you mean the Trump administration and the Youngkin administration, as it applies to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
After the recent Justice Department accusation that UVA failed to dismantle DEI back in April, the UVA Board of Visitors is rolling out new diversity initiatives which focus on viewpoints rather than demographics. The board has pledged to advance free inquiry and viewpoint diversity at UVA and has rescinded parts of the 2020 pledge by the BOV to support racial equity efforts. One of the goals is for faculty to better promote all opinions that should be shared or could be shared in the classroom. Now, I understand
This is just rebranding.
I don't know
This
about
is
that.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, rebranded as...
Do you think so?
Dude, are you joking?
Yeah.
Look
I'm
at the
joking.
words that you
no,
were...
I'm not joking.
Look at the words that you were using. What are the words that you're using in the classroom that they want to do?
Free inquiry and viewpoint diversity.
Okay, diversity, equity, and inclusion is now free viewpoint.
You're saying that just because diversity is in the wording?
It's the same thing.
I disagree.
Okay, make your case.
While I understand the DEI portion, the support for racial equity efforts, I think UVA has that covered. Whether or not they have a DEI portion of, whether they've got an initiative, whatever you want to call it, in the
mission.
School. There isn't anybody at the school that's going to be not hiring someone because of the color of their skin. I think we can all be fairly sure that at UVA they have the racial equity portion covered. What I think we've seen an issue with is free inquiry and viewpoint diversity, where, for instance, students are afraid to speak up, teachers are afraid to speak up if they associate themselves with the Republican Party, or, for instance, if you support Israel. And so what I see is that this is more of a push to ensure that on a college campus, on one of the biggest college campuses in Virginia, students and teachers have the security of knowing that they can discuss something from their perspective and not worry about being vilified by the majority of the school if it's a viewpoint that doesn't align with the majority of the school.
Well said. Well explained. Chad Wood says, follow the money. I'm going to say this is the University of Virginia's version of three-card money, the old do-si-do.
Okay.
The Trump administration, Glenn Youngkin, they're going after UVA. And they're leveraging money against the university. And they're saying, you want this funding? You want these federal dollar bills, y'all? You get rid of DEI. UVA needs those dollar bills, y'all. But the leadership team at UVA is punch drunk with themselves. They're intoxicated with their own influence and power. It's like Jesse Katsopoulos from Full House when he looks in the mirror in their San Francisco home, and Jesse Katsopoulos would talk and stroke his hair, admiring his hair. Punch drunk with himself. The University of Virginia, punch drunk with their influence and power, like Jesse Katsopoulos with his hair. And they are just three-card Montying, do-si-doing, rebranding, managing perception, DEI, under a different moniker and mission. So they don't have to lay off their bloated administrative payroll. They don't have to make cuts with bloated payroll. They can keep the same mission going, and they can pursue their true objective, which is this new Ivy League moniker that they really, really want. And this new Ivy League moniker is just making it expensive for everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
My rebuttal to that is that, per the reporting, this is coming from the Board of Visitors, which, as we know, is now mostly appointees from Glenn Youngkin.
July, it's going to be Youngkin's.
Yeah. So I'm unsure why they would be participating in this three-card Monty to assist the university in keeping its DEI initiatives under a different name.
I respect your comments, Judah. I got comments coming in on this. I got one viewer and listener that I admire tremendously, and that's James Watson. James Watson went to the University of Virginia. He overlapped there when I was there as well. He says, did either of you guys ever hear the words diversity, equity, inclusion when you were in college or even 5 years ago? I never actually heard of it until recent times. Same with me, James.
I agree.
It seems like it's like a COVID and beyond.
Yeah, it's
COVID and beyond, James. He also says, I also never got the impression that the University of Virginia was that diverse. VCU is highly diverse. My interpretation going there is most people were from Northern Virginia, upper middle class, and non-minorities. I get a genuine question now. Genuine question. Are Asian students a minority checkbox on an application, or when the admissions office is admitting students and they're admitting Asian students, is that in the bucket of minorities in the student body? Do you know that answer?
I don't have that answer.
I don't have that answer. Does anyone have that answer?
If I had to guess, I would say no.
Okay, if I had a guess, I would also say no, but I don't have that definitive answer. Okay? If Asian students fall in the bucket of minority admitted student, then the University of Virginia is diverse because there's a significant Asian population in the student body. Okay, but I don't have that answer. Anyone have that answer? I don't have that answer. Chad Wood says this is straight up clear-cut rebranding. Lonnie Murray says, are all viewpoints equal, though? Do geography departments need to give equal time and consideration to flat earthers? That's a push on you.
I mean, if a student wants to argue for a flat earth theory, then I could see the teacher allowing them to make their point, but that doesn't mean the teacher needs to make that a focus of a significant portion of the class time.
Chad says it's absolutely smoke and mirrors. And Georgia says, I'm with you, James Watson. Lots of new words in the last 20 years. I think that was a COVID and beyond move.
Yeah, it was fairly recent.
Jeremy Wilson in Cokesville, Tennessee says, great points from James Watson. He's watching in Eastern Tennessee. Jeremy Wilson, love when you comment on the show. James Watson getting some props right here. Elliot Harding, the talented defense attorney on the show, watching the program. All right, that's the show. If you're just tuning into the broadcast, we put 303 Alderman Road under the microscope yesterday with Jerry Cox, the lawyer that lives in Lewis Mountain as a homeowner. The neighborhood is opposed to the 6 luxury brownstones at 303 Alderman Road in the Lewis Mountain neighborhood. And for an entire year, the signage looked like this at 303 Alderman Road. Look at the screen now. Is it on screen?
It is now.
Look at the screen now. There was branding out front of 303 Alderman Road, a banner, a billboard touting the 6 luxury brownstones. Yesterday's show, we scrutinized this and we explained why Evergreen had some exposure from debt service, from a zoning standpoint, from public outcry. Today, that banner has been removed and it looks like this. Is the 6 luxury brownstone project, has it been scrapped? That story for your charcuterie and cocktail party this weekend. For Judah Wickower, I'm Jerry Miller. So long.